Hey guys, it's time for the most energetic,
Telepathetic.
horrific,
Unterrific.
possibly the worst movie of 2016, Officer
Officer
Down. Leo, I'm having so much trouble with this movie as far as rating it is concerned. There's a lot of possibly cool looking things that came together.
A lot of potential. A lot of potential there.
At the same time, though, it's like a barfing mess.
Look, it's like you went to get like a $100 meal at a beautiful, like a nice steakhouse,
And then you get
a nice
raped.
bottle of wine. No, and then you choke on that piece of meat. Okay, you have these great expectations. It's gonna taste good. You're gonna have good service. You're gonna have a good time with your company. But then you choke on that piece of meat, man.
And the manager says, "Fuck you."
You don't get a discount.
Yeah, no discount.
Pay for the whole fucking meal.
This movie is. Let's just go over the plot. The plot is
Okay.
very, very basic, right?
It's very simple.
There's a guy that dies named Officer Down.
Right.
He dies about 22 years ago, and he gets resurrected, kind of RoboCop status,
Sort of, yeah.
to fight crime in LA.
They figure out this thing called the resurrection equation. They never say it in the movie, by the way. So we're going off the source material here for that sort of info.
As you can see, we did our homework. I don't know if I'm proud of it.
This is the worst homework I've ever done in my life, guys. Waste of time.
The movie starts off. Well, first of all, let's just talk Officer Down really quick.
Okay.
That's the main character, right?
Okay,
Who plays Officer Down? Kim
Coates, man.
I mean, he doesn't look like this guy here. Okay, look at him. He doesn't look like him at all.
This guy's like a visual representation of Judge Dredd without all that armor. That's who who he should be.
Yeah.
That's the essence of what I got from this book. Okay,
He even talks like kind of Judge
monotone,
Dredd-like.
very like authoritative, in command, in charge at all times.
And here comes Kim Coates, and it's just kind of like, I mean, right from the get-go, you're like, that guy. I mean, okay, if you haven't read the source material, right, then you would just see Kim Coates as like, okay, he's a good actor. Okay.
But here's the thing: I saw the role from Sons of Anarchy in this movie. Okay, it's the same character. He's a badass. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't answer to anyone. So it was that similar delivery, and I don't think this character should have gotten that. It should have been a little more stern, a little more stern, a little more dry. And he just gave this like I don't give a shit performance is what it felt like to me.
If who was the guy that played Judge Dredd?
Stallone and then Carl Urban.
Carl Urban. If Carl Urban would have played Officer Down,
That would have been great.
It would have been amazing.
It would have been a way better movie, I think, because he had this gravitas and this serious tone to it. Kim Coates just felt like a joke. Like it really felt like it was a spoof.
From the opening scene,
Yeah.
as he's walking down the long hallway and he's doing his internal monologue, it's just he's not the guy.
You know, it would have been better with like an aerial shot to establish what sort of a world we're in, the crime that we face, maybe him doing a patrol or something like that. But it was just like, hey, here's this guy who's walking, looks like a cosplayer because the hat I didn't take his uniform serious at all. That threw me off from the beginning.
And what about like the speaking of Officer Down aside, right?
Mm-hmm.
The opening scene is he's taking down this drug compound, kind of, and Corey Taylor's in on it.
Okay, when you mentioned that Corey Taylor was in the movie, because I didn't know the full cast, I was a little excited. You know, I'm a big fan of the band. I'm a big fan of the creative mind behind this movie. So I had sort of, you know, some good expectations for his character in this movie.
He's a brilliant musician, clearly, right? His music rocks, but here I felt like he was trying to do too much of a Jim Carrey in Mr. Riddler kind of, but failing at that.
Yeah, the trickster sort of take on this character. In the comics, he looks all deranged. He looks like his face is rotting because he's using these drugs.
Looks like a crack addict.
Yeah, he looks like a really bad crack addict. But he just looked like it was Corey Taylor going over the top for this performance.
And I will say one positive thing about Corey Taylor. They nailed the fucking look of the character.
Yeah, that was really good. I appreciated that. So it was true to the source.
His character's name, by the way, is called Headcase. And Corey Taylor's character, Headcase, his real name is Henry, but he hates being called Headcase. And when one of his minions calls him Headcase, I thought he turns to that minion and goes, don't call me that or something like that. That's when I first started realizing that he was not great for the role.
It was the cracks in his armor that started showing really, in the very beginning of his performance.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
I didn't... Oh, my God. There's a couple of instances where there are some possible good things happening, right? And then all of a sudden...
I'll tell you what. He was very sinister. I got that from his performance. I liked the laugh. It was very maniacal. But that's as far as it went. Once he started going through his dialogues, through his lines, it just felt like it was too over the top. Like he wasn't directed well in that instance. Yeah. They should have told him to tone it down just a little bit. I think it would have been just a little bit better.
And, he keeps... So, Officer Down, Kim Coates, he keeps dying... Oh, first of all, before that drug bust scene happens, right? It opens up kind of with a bang.
A literal bang.
With like 14 mind-blowing orgasm bangs.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, I'm in for a ride here. This is a crazy-ass movie here. By the way, they did kind of overdid it. In the book, it was only 7 orgasms, son.
7, guys.
You added double.
Yeah.
Come on, stick with...
He's overcompensating for something, I think.
14 orgasms, and then the crime bust happens. Now, what do you think of the head honchos here? They're called the Fortune 500.
Look, in the comics, it actually looks like...
They look perfect, actually.
They look really good, yeah. They look like creatures that are, like, anthropomorphic creatures, right? It's a lion head on a man, a tiger, and a vulture, okay? In the movie... It looks like a shitty mask mixed with like...
That you got like at the Halloween store.
I mean, the mouth moves.
No, it's straight Halloween store status, bro.
It is. And in that instance, when I saw it, I thought, okay, why didn't they just go the full like mask route? They could have just been like, these guys are wearing masks.
Like full prosthetics, you mean?
No. Just like a mask, man. Like a full lion mask versus like making it look like it's actually his head. And they had a low budget for that. I get that they were going to have a low budget for that. Special effects wise, they weren't going to be able to pull it off. But if they want to take it a little more like... This is the odd thing about the Fortune 500 is these people wear these weird masks. And they never reveal themselves. But they're very much these power-hungry people who actually are controlling the city. And they rule. They're the crime bosses, the crime lords of the city. But with that mask, I couldn't take him serious.
I couldn't.
It was too difficult.
Even though it stuck to the source material.
It really did, you guys. It respected it, and it did good. I think it did justice in the fact that they put it in the movie.
The costumes were dead on.
Yeah.
The masks were... If you're taking it literally, it was dead on,
the
right?
The sauna scene.
But you know what? Leo did make a good point. They're kind of like over the top as far as their mannerisms. When they would speak, their hands would like overact.
The lion had a roar.
He was the only guy that
sounded like his creature.
Yeah,
and it's like they didn't need that.
And the other two were just like normal Joes, like I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah, you know who I actually didn't like? I appreciated him was the Vulture. I liked his tone. His performance was pretty good. He kind of pulled me back in when the other two were going too far off the cuff.
Crazy.
Yeah, a little too much.
And by the way, there was a minor little change in this little casting. The tiger is a female in the movie,
being a male.
Versus being a male in the book,
which I
didn't mind it as much. It's just one of those things that just caught my attention right off the bat. And we get introduced. So, by the way, the Fortune 500 crew, they run the drug bust that Officer Down took down at the beginning of the movie with Corey Taylor, and in reinforcements, they call in reinforcements in the form of Grandmaster Flash or Zen Master Flash.
Zen Master Flash. He's a cool character in the book.
Really cool character, too, in the movie at times.
Okay, I'll agree with you. At times.
It's just that he was, even the introduction of that character was straight out of the book.
It was pretty cool.
He's upside down, doing fucking finger push-ups like this. Although it kind of looked kind of cartoonish. It didn't look like he was really upside down.
He should have just been, just holding himself up.
Yeah, the green screen on there was not the greatest.
Yeah, it wasn't that good.
But here's one thing I didn't like about him. I like the costume design that they did on Zen Master Flash.
Even his moves.
His moves were good. His fashion was pretty cool, right? The one thing that kept throwing me off, though, was they did a different... another actor did the voice, and
the voiceover.
Yeah, they intentionally did, some very bad ADR.
Here's the thing. I think they were trying to do a little bit of, an homage to Chinese cinema, to martial arts movies, where he's speaking in English because you don't want to read the subtitles. There is subtitles in the beginning. The actor's voice when he's introduced is his, but he's speaking Mandarin or Cantonese. We don't know. But the thing is that once he says "fuck this," fuck the subtitles.
Fuck the subtitles.
So you start hearing him in English, but his mouth is moving still in Cantonese or whatever dialect he's speaking, and so it just threw me off. It's like, wait, they didn't need to do that. I would not have minded to have read the subtitles through the entire movie.
Yeah, me neither. But and here's the only issue I had with the different actor playing or doing the voice in the ADR is the fact that sometimes the voice actor would laugh and the actor would not laugh.
Right.
So that kind of like there was a definite difference in contrast there in certain scenes.
Too obvious.
Now, what do you think of just the action overall?
It was good action. I mean, the scene where he goes into the church and he fights the nuns was pretty cool. Although the acting was just, again, it was bad.
Atrocious.
It was a shame because, the set looked cool. The costume looked cool.
I differ from that. I think the costumes look cool. The set did look low class.
Right. But I'm trying to give it a little bit of credit, okay? Yeah. The thing is that once the acting, I mean, the voiceovers that were happening, some of the actual sound effects and like you said, the ADR that was going on, it just sounds terrible. It's really shitty.
It's one of those things where they also did they didn't do any ADR for the mistress. I forget the main nun.
Oh, the Supreme
Mother.
Mistress. Mother Supreme.
Mother Supreme. Okay, so in her case, I don't think she was delivering her lines very well, right? No. So they try to hide it by enhancing her own voice with like different voice sound
almost
effects.
At times demonic.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
At times.
And I just think I couldn't help but notice. I'm like, are they doing that to hide the fact that she is sucking right now, like really bad?
Was very possible.
I couldn't tell. Now the police chief.
That was a different take on it. On the source material.
The police chief is an older black man here on the source material that is on the book, but here it's played by, I don't remember this actress' name, but she was the chief in in Dexter.
Okay, yeah.
She did okay.
Here's the thing: through this entire movie, man, I'm watching the performances and I'm asking you, literally, is it the directing? Is it the delivery? Or is it the script? I can't tell what it is about the performances that I just don't buy it.
It's just something is off here where you don't know if it's the way they are delivering their lines or the face kind of, I almost want to say the face acting, like the showing gestures, the gestures and all that stuff.
Performance, yeah.
The
body language and all that.
They aren't meshing together.
It's not.
And there's certain scenes in here where it's like, this is a serious scene. This is like a case in point. There's this one scene where the chief is talking to Gable, the rookie, and she's pretty much threatening him with his job. Like, I gave you a chance, I'm not going to, you blew it and all this stuff. But as she's going through all her lines, I'm not buying that she's really mad.
The threat. You don't buy the threat that he's going to get his job taken away.
And by the way, there was this back to what Leo was saying, that the way that Officer Down keeps coming back, I'm going back to what he originally said a while back, is that they figured out the resurrection equation.
Right.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of that setup?
Okay, I think that it was true to the source. I actually liked it.
The
lighting, the setup for these patients that are apparently dealing with ALS and multiple sclerosis and all these diseases that are crippling to the body. They have powerful minds and they're able to combine their mental powers to essentially resurrect Officer Down every time he gets fucked up. Okay?
Yeah. He has to be in close proximity.
He has to be close, yeah.
But they did show later on in the movie that they could do long distance.
Right, eventually.
Yeah. But there was this one thing that kept throwing me off in the whole set. The set was beautiful, okay? The colors were good.
I bought it. I bought the set, okay? So that scene was good in that sense.
But there was this one fat extra in the back.
It was out of place, guys. It was out of place.
This guy was not doing a goddamn thing. I swear,
he fell asleep, man.
I swear I caught him fall asleep
this
one time.
Looked asleep in this fucking scene, you guys.
Look out for this guy. I'm pretty sure he's just looking at a clipboard the entire
through pages.
time.
What the fuck is that? Get it the fuck out of there.
Yeah. That guy ruined that scene for me.
It was terrible. Out of place, you guys. Totally out of place. It threw me out of that scene.
And the doctor guy, he's the voice for Darth Maul in the animated series.
Sam Witwerth.
Thank you. So he was also borderline Corey Taylor.
A little bit. I mean, look, he does very good voiceover. He's very believable. But
really good.
I guess it maybe comes down to the directing, because he does good on Star Wars Rebels, and I think he did some voiceover for Clone Wars. But in this movie, he's delivering really good lines, all this information, and the character, the rookie that's listening to him talk, it's just like going over his head. Like, he's still in shock that he's in this room seeing all these things happening.
I'm surprised. Okay, Officer Gable, the rookie, found this room filled with these handicapped people that are, resurrecting Officer Down via their telekinesis.
The worst way possible.
Now, how do you think he found that room?
Worst way possible, guys.
There is this hidden room in the men's locker room, okay? Inside one of the lockers, okay? Now, that is okay, but...
Sure, I buy that.
Do you really?
Yeah, sure, it's a secret locker with a big sticker on it. You know that, hey, that locker stands out right now.
I almost couldn't believe the fact that the locker was glowing from the inside out.
Obviously glowing. It's like, hey, why aren't the other lockers glowing?
Fog's in there. Yeah. I'm just like,
a scientist comes out and looks at him like, oh. And it just keeps going.
The scientist says nothing.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shit, he didn't see me
business
at all.
as usual.
Yeah, whatever. And I'm just like, that is the worst possible spot to hide
he didn't cover that up well at all. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
He should have used a mind eraser at that moment.
Okay. I had to recover a little bit.
It's pretty bad.
Now, when Officer Down gets... he has a fight scene with all the ninjas, okay? Yeah. With Zen Master...
At the station.
Zen Master... Oh my god, what's his name?
Zen Master Flash.
Flash.
Yeah.
He's having a confrontation, it looks like at a hospital waiting room or something like that. Of that nature. So, he gets captured. It was an ambush, right? He gets captured. And he gets taken to prison. And here's one thing that I've noticed up until this point. The music is pretty damn good. The soundtrack is going to be pretty good. Yeah. If you like metal, rock and roll kind of, it's going to be pretty good. But every single time that they used a rock and roll song or a metal song, I tended to notice that it didn't match
the tone,
the pace of what was happening here. The action.
It was just thrown in there because it's Shawn, Crahan. Okay, and so it really did feel like, hey, I'm going to use my musical taste, and then I'm just going to insert X band here.
It's exactly right. That's exactly how I felt like they were just doing it. It's like, add 30 seconds of metal here, right here, add some more. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He could be driving...
He was in one scene.
He was driving in one scene. He could have been waiting at the McDonald's drive-thru for all I know, and heavy metal blasting music's going on. Nothing is happening.
Who doesn't enjoy a little heavy metal music while you're waiting in the McDonald's drive-thru anyway?
Well, he's not doing anything.
He's just driving to his next mission, you guys.
And so that is what this movie is essentially boils down to. Officer Down fights crime, gets killed, gets resurrected, fights crime, gets resurrected, fights crime.
What is it? What's that? The Tom Cruise movie? Live, Die, Repeat.
Live, Die, Repeat.
Which is the subtitle name
but
to it.
But a good version of this movie. I wish he would have just stayed dead after the first one.
Too, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Officer Down. Don't come after me, okay? It's not my fault. It's Shawn Crahan's fault.
Now, what do you think? We're both laymen's, okay? Now,
sure, we're just subjective here.
Now, what do you think happened in this movie that didn't make it believable?
Okay, I'm going to be blunt honest here. I think it's just the fact that it's his directorial debut. Okay, he didn't have any sort of experience. He didn't have anything to go by to say, okay, let me change the delivery of the dialogue here. Hey, change the camera. angle. I mean, a lot of the first shots were handheld. It threw me off. There was no establishing of things. It was just like you're thrust into this, and it wasn't even. It didn't pay off to the scene. It was just like just a strict choice that he made, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go with this choice because I want to make it feel rough or edgy or something." But it didn't do anything for the actual story. And I think most of the directors that I appreciate, and that I'm sure that when you watch their movies, you can say, this is a good movie, is because they make conscious choices that will eventually impact the film and the story itself.
Now, the thing is he, minor little correction, he has had some director experience, but short film kind of here and there.
But that's my point. It feels like he has no experience.
That's
all it feels that way.
I can't argue that. But also, the thing that surprised me the most is Joe Casey, the writer for Officer Down, he also wrote the screenplay for this thing too, which makes sense because it's kind of like a carbon copy of the book
to the letter, to
with
the T.
like some minor little changes here and there,
alterations,
but
which I didn't mind.
Scenes, I mean, we're talking like straight dialogue copying over. I mean, it was identical scenes, word for word. Now the thing that kind of makes me feel bad about possibly giving this a bad review, and I am going to give it a bad review, is that I'm looking at the source material. I'm reading. By the way, if you guys haven't read this book, it's a pretty good book. Entertaining book, okay?
Quick read. I loved it.
And what's cool about this book is it comes with the actual movie script and like some shots of like the behind the scenes of the movie. Now, with that said, I read this book, and I'm like, okay, they don't have enough source material here to make an hour-and-a-half long movie.
I beg to differ. I saw it. You could stretch it out a little bit, the scenes. It was long enough, I think. I mean, a page a minute, or a couple of minutes. I think the scenes in the book were good. I was expecting to see something similar. We pretty much got that, but the delivery of it was just not up to what I would have expected for the movie to be. I mean, it's like okay, I'm not going to call it a snuff film because that's not what it is, but it just feels like a really bad B movie, okay?
It looks like a director that just got out of porn.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Because the sex scenes were good.
The sex scenes were pretty
really
good,
great.
Okay?
With the dinging every time. Obviously, he was getting her off.
By the way, coincidentally, never mind. I'm not even going to mention that. It's not even worth mentioning. I was going to mention the sound effects about the dings. Every single time he gave an orgasm to a girl, it would go ding, ding, ding. And coincidentally, that same ding sound effect was the same sound effect that they used every single time he would get a headshot on a nun.
The nun scene.
Now, with that out of the way, with the good, the bad,
and the ugly,
and the down, what do you rate this? Just the quick positives, quick negatives, and what your rating is.
Look, it does good as far as the source material. It tries to emulate it, so you can see the relation between the story in the movie and in the book, okay? But that's as far as it goes with me. The thing about this movie that I just wasn't able to shy away from is the fact that it just seemed like the directing was half-assed. I kind of
hate to say it.
I don't mean
it's
to be
his first
disrespectful.
time.
Right, I'm a fan of the guy
and
and his art, but I don't mean to be disrespectful. But it just seemed like somebody should have pulled him aside and said, "Hey, man, take a minute, rethink these things, or maybe talk with a couple of people, a couple of professionals that have done a lot of this. They don't have to be A-list directors or producers, but some of the angles were bad on the camera work, some of the delivery and the dialogues. I felt like a few of the scenes in the movie deviated from the book and were just pointless. The movie could have been a little bit shorter. I don't mind this movie if it was like exactly an hour.
Yeah.
It would have done good delivering the storyline. It didn't have to be that long. But because of all those things, I'm just going to give this movie a straight up D.
Following what Leo is saying, I right off the bat, just the good things. I like the costume design. Followed straight true to the source material. Yeah. The music was pretty good. The colors were very vibrant and very kind of saturated, rich. I like that. Some of the action was okay, but with the negatives part is Tim Coates is not Officer Down.
No,
he just does not look. He's not buff at all. He looks like a younger Weekends at Bernie's without the dancing. Okay, he looks he looks like that guy. And just the pacing of the movie really threw me off. There were some minor little things that just kind of like, why is he doing that? Like, quick little example. There were times where Officer Down would do random things, and he would just twitch out of nowhere. Okay?
And it was clearly done in post.
Clearly. So, costume design, great. Action scenes was okay. Music was pretty good. The colors were very good. The casting choice, bad on Corey Taylor, bad on Kim Coates. And the way the director directed this thing was not that good.
The fucking doctor.
The doctor. Dude, the doctor in the back, the extra.
Get that guy the fuck out of here.
That extra alone gave it a minus letter.
I was going to give it a D+. That was a D down.
That was a D for D and D for down. By the way, before we end this video, a little okay. If I had, would you recommend this movie to just a comic fan in general, or just anyone in general?
I recommend the book. I don't fucking recommend the movie at all.
Because if you read the book, it's
you'll be disappointed.
It's identical.
You'll be disappointed.
It's identical to the movie. Okay. Yeah. Now the thing is if I was put in the seat of one thing that I would have changed, right, is if I wanted to make future Officer Down movies, right, I would have expanded the world a little bit. Now,
just a little bit.
Quick little example. At the end of this book, Officer Down pulls over these two guys in a car, and one guy clearly is, I almost want to call him a mutant, because he's like Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like his body
in
is
the
like
book.
contorted. In the book.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it's just two regular thugs driving a car.
Two schmoes just driving
on
their way to a bus or
one
something.
of them happened to be at Adi Shankar.
And Sid from Slipknot.
Which, by the way, the guy from Slipknot actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah, DJ Starscream did a really good job in that scene. It was believable. I liked his role. Eddie Shankar wasn't that bad either. I think that scene was probably the best scene in the entire movie.
Really?
I was...
Maybe.
I'm dead serious.
Not thinking about it.
I wanted to see what these two dudes were going to do. Yeah. I didn't give a shit about anything else in the movie except for that scene, but I know how it ended.
With all that, I'm also going to give it a D. So, anyways, guys, stay tuned for our next video coming up on Wednesday. It's going to be Moonlight.
Stay tuned for that.
It won an Oscar for Best Picture. I haven't seen it. You haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
I want to see what a Best Picture of 2016 looks like.
Well, I was going to see La La Land, but I decided to say, fuck that, I'm going to see Moonlight instead.
You're not missing much, La La Land. I could sing and dance for you, and it's the same fucking thing.
I'm looking forward to that.
Anyways, guys, if you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you Wednesday. Moonlight. Moonlight. Bye.